Hi, this is Jacob from Kvaen, and you're watching RichardMetalFan.
What's up, guys? Episode 284 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom, and I'm here with Jacob from the almighty Kvaen. And so, how are you doing today, man?
Despite all the technical difficulties I've had, um, I'm doing fine.
Yeah,
Doing interviews, press, and all that jazz.
yeah,
So far so good. So what?
yeah. So it's good, great to have you here. So, kind of what I want to talk about is I want to talk about like your musical history as well as I want to talk about the latest Kvaen album, but take you back to young Jacob Björnfot. So, kind of growing up in Sweden, what were the first bands that got you into metal? What made you want to start playing an instrument?
Okay. Well, first band that got me interested in metal was Iron Maiden, and then I heard, of course, Metallica, Manowar. And after that, you know, the older I got, the more interested in I became more interested in a little bit more extreme stuff. So I found out about Mayhem and all these guys, and of course Morbid. The December Moon EP was very important, and I guess the band that really inspired me back in the days was Battery, of course.
Nice. Nice. And so of course, like you're a multi-instrumentalist, especially with Kvaen. I know you play like keyboards, like bass, guitar, and vocals. Like I'm always curious, like what instrument came first for you?
It was guitar, actually. I started taking lessons when I was like, I don't know, 11 or 12. But I wanted to be like John Norum in Europe, you know. I wanted to play ripping guitar solos. I didn't want to play acoustic guitar. That was lame. I didn't want to do that. So I quit. So I quit. Like, fuck no, I'm not doing this. It's not metal. So yes, and then I turned 13, and eventually I started becoming more and more interested again in playing. So I picked up the old dusty grandpa guitar and learned how to play a few guitar chords again, and it started to sound good. So I'm like, okay. So I asked my parents kindly for an electric guitar, and luckily they got me one, and the rest is history, I think.
Awesome. And I guess first thing I want to talk about, I guess diving right in is Autumn Death and from because you formed the band in 2011. So how did you form that band and get to know everybody?
Oh yeah, Autumn Death. Yeah, that was a band I formed when I was a little brat. I just wanted to have fun with my friends and try to be as you know try to be over the top with our playing. Oh, and try to play over our own abilities, which we also did. many many of those songs were like, yeah, we're not this good yet, but we can pretend, and hopefully someone will be tricked. But yeah, it was a band I formed with one of my best friends, and yeah, our goal, I guess, was to conquer the world, as every 17, 18 year old
Yeah.
wants. And then I don't know, things didn't really work out with other guys. So me and my best friend, we just decided that we're let's just put it to rest. Really,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I mean, um, yeah.
Yeah, because I was go. Funny enough, was you led me into the next question, like, what I figure all we're gonna do new stuff because it's been like 10 years since the Autumn Death EP, which I still thought was pretty good. So hard to believe it's been 10 years. So how do you feel about it now, a decade later?
I mean, it's if you consider that we were only 17, 18 years old, I think we did something pretty cool, and we had no idea what the hell we were doing, the slightest. But I do remember that we had a lot of fun, and it was exciting to be in a professional studio, and I got to work with Darai from Dimmu Borgir. He
Oh
played
wow.
drums on one of this. Yeah, being a little shithead, as I was, 18 years old or something, and got to work with someone as big as Darai. I mean, he's like one of the best metal drummers. So that was really cool.
Yeah. And then of course after that in 2016 you joined up with the Duskfall for a few years. So tell me about them.
Yeah, it was my friend. He joined the band because their guitar player, vocalist, or songwriter, the guy who basically is the Dust Bowl, he sent me a message like, "Yeah, do you know this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's a friend of mine, a very very good drummer." It's like, "Yeah, okay, cool," and he's fine and everything. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, of course, and you should ask him." And they did, and he joined the band. And then I think it took like a year later, I got a message from him like, "Yeah, things are not working out with our guitar player. Yada yada yada. I want to try out, blah blah blah." And so I did an audition, and I got the gig, and we did a lot of shows and a great little European tour and all that. But yeah, we recorded the album that has not been released yet, which is I hope it gets released soon because it's really really fucking awesome. Yeah, and that's it. And then we decided to go separate ways, basically,
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean that's just life, how life is sometimes.
Yeah, and then that same year you started up Kvaen. So how did the idea to come to be to sort of make this sort of, I guess, in a way, kind of a solo kind of project?
Mm. Well, I was sort of fed up with everything that was being released. I mean, everything sounded the same. It just felt boring. I think boring was the word I felt. So I wanted to do something that felt more like me, that I could be like very proud of. So I mixed everything that I listened to. I mean, I listened to everything from Pink Floyd to The Doors, Led Zeppelin, you name it, to the more obscure black metal bands there are. So, and I put everything in the blender and push, the on button, and then that's how everything started.
Yeah. And then kind of going into the first album, The Funeral Prior, I thought that was a great debut album. So what was sort of like the thought process going into making the debut full-length Kvaen album?
I don't think there wasn't that much going on at all. I just sat in my house and just wrote songs. I didn't really understand what the hell I was doing. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna write these songs and hopefully it will turn out great and not flop. And it did great. So, and I'm still very very proud of that album.
Yeah, because I think it's a great debut album, like especially like the first song, "Revenge by Fire." It's just like sick black metal with the hints of like the speed metal. But I think like every song just has like a different vibe, especially like "Ye Now the Hushi She," which has another kind of a slower kind of like vibe with it, and then the Wolf Throne also has some really sick riffs. So I feel like every song almost has like a different kind of like mood and different like emotion, I guessing that you were feeling with at the time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I started writing the album when I think I was 22 years old. So I was just a little brat. I didn't know really how to record properly. I didn't know how to do this or that, and I didn't care. I was more like, I had this Venom kind of attitude, like, Venom, fuck it, push down, turn up damp to 10, and let's go. So that was kind of the kind of punk attitude I had, and I think that's probably why it sounds the way it does. Also, it's not perfect, and not great, not terrible.
Yeah. And I know it was also sort of like released right before like the pandemic and everything. And obviously with the pandemic, I know in in the music industry, it sort of like fucked up the whole like industry and everything. So for you personally, how hard was it hard for you to like sort of like promote the album and during that time period?
I have my little theory about that. I think it actually helped the album because people were so hungry for new music at that time. I mean, they couldn't attend live shows or anything. So uh, when the album came out, it exploded in the underground scene. Like, I mean, we're currently at our sixth pressing of the Funeral Pyre vinyl, and we sold thousands of CDs. So it's to me it's a little obscure. Like, what? Are you serious? Like, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy that it took place at the right. It was the right place at the right time.
Oh, yeah. And then during like the whole pandemic, did you start to write for what would eventually become the next album, The Great Below?
Yes, I started writing songs for that album maybe 2 3 months after the album, because my initial plan was just to quit the band after the first album and do something else. But then I gave it a second thought, and promoters started contacting me like, "Hey, are you going to bring the band to stages? Are you going to bring people and play?" And and I said, "No, I don't think so." But then I gave it a second thought, and was like, "Okay, maybe we can try that, see how it feels." So we played a small club in Stockholm, which was the best thing we could do, like a small 150 cap venue, and it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And
that
since and then after that, it's just been rolling.
yeah. And then talking about the last album, The Great Below, I thought that was a good follow-up to the Funeral Pyre. Did you feel like pressure to follow up Funeral Pyre? Because every with the debut album, you have like your entire life to write, and there's a hype with the first album, and there's always like pressure to follow up. Did you feel like any pressure at all when it came to releasing The Great Below?
No, not really. I knew that it was going to be a different album anyway, so it was going to be divided either way. And some people have already decided in their minds that it doesn't matter what he releases next. He's never gonna beat this. So I mean, as long as you're happy and as long as you're proud over what you put out there, nothing else really matters.
Yeah. And now we have your latest album, The Formless Fires, which came out last week, and it is absolutely kick-ass. So, how was the whole writing and recording process like for The Formless Fires?
Extremely pleasing. uh, I mean, as I said, I was very young when I started writing The Funeral Pyre, and I had zero knowledge about what the hell I was doing. So it's been a journey of trial and errors, basically. So I picked up
Uh-oh.
all the knowledge that I got from the Funeral Pyre session, and just put everything into the Great Below session, and then just took everything that I learned from the Great Below into the Formless Fires. So everything's been going really easy.
Yeah. And did you want to continue in the same vein as The Great Below, or did you want to try something new or different that Kvaen hasn't done before?
Well, I think evolving as a musician, evolving as a person is something that I always strive for. Um, so yeah, I definitely tried something new this time. There are more songs with clean choirs than clean backing vocals and stuff like that. And I think the whole musical, it's I wouldn't say that's too different, but it's different still. I mean, it's not the same album twice.
Yeah. And of course, like the Formless Fires has been out for a week now. So how has it been the overall like reception been like for the Formless Fires?
It's been extremely well. Seems to have sold very well, and streaming numbers are really good. So far so good. And I just got the news today that it reached number one at the Swedish album charts. So I mean, it's been great.
Yeah. And how would you describe like the style of the album and sort of like the overall like message and themes behind it?
Well, like the lyrics and stuff like that is of course very personal. It's like 50-50. It's 50% very personal, 50% based on more mythology with a lot of hidden stuff based on personal stuff. So I don't know. It's very hard to. I guess it's very hard to explain, but yeah. I mean, I don't know really to explain myself.
Yeah, and I know you just mentioned that you were also so lyrically talking about having with like mythology. Like, is there a lot of also like a lot of research that goes hand in hand when making the lyrics for the album?
Yeah, sure. And like when it comes to the mythology part, it's I do a lot of research, and a lot of the mythology stuff is stuff that actually happened here in the area where I live. So So of course there's a lot of research behind that.
Yeah. And of course, I know like you have like the two songs, Tornet's song and De Dodes song, which are of course sung in Swedish. And I know you had a song on the last album that was in Swedish. So I'm guessing with singing like songs in your native tongue, is it almost kind of like in a way personal for you?
Yeah, it's personal, and it's also what fits the song. You know, if it fits better to sing in Swedish, then I'll do it. If fits better to sing in English, then I'll sing in English. But those songs really needed to be sung in Swedish to get that atmosphere and that vibe that the
Yeah.
songs require.
Yeah, and I definitely love it. Love it. Definitely because I don't know a thing about Swedish, but just like hearing like when artists from like different countries sing in their native tongue, it's always like very interesting to listen to.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And then of course talking about like the album artwork, it's just really I feel like in my opinion it's probably the darkest Kvaen album today, especially love like the dragony kind of like castle and stuff. So well, how who came up with the artwork for that? Because it's just one of the best album artworks I've seen to date.
Hmm. It's a good friend of mine called Jonas Fidén. He is he's a really amazing artist, and we've been friends for many years, and we talked. We have talked many times about doing something together, and we just it was never the right place at the right time. But now finally we got the chance to work together, and I'm more than pleased.
Yeah. And talking about like playing live, is there like a similar kind of like energy to like playing live as opposed to like recording, or are they kind of like two completely separate kind of things?
Yeah, they're completely separate, and different. I mean, when you're recording an album, um, depending. I mean, I record everything from my own home studio here in my house, so it's not like I go to a real studio these days to record guitars. It's just a waste of money, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense anymore. Um, and live, it's all about bringing out the songs to the stage and do it as authentic and real as it can get.
Yeah. And then also you have like some live musicians. You have Rasmus Rova, Frederick Anderson, and Per Lindstrom playing with them. When playing with with them, especially because I know like on the albums, it's mostly all you. Do you try to have them like play stick to how it was done on the albums, or do you try to like when playing live with those songs like add their own kind of like little spin to the songs?
Um, well, when it comes to the drums, it's a little bit more like, yeah, you can mess around with the fills and stuff, do it that way, have it your way basically. But when it comes to like the bass and the guitars, then it's important that they kind of stick to the original tracks.
Nice. And on sort of like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Kvaen? And I know we got the new album out now. Is there anything else with like tours and stuff that you would like to also plug? And is there a chance you can bring Kvaen to the States for a tour?
Well, what's next now? We're gonna do a few more festivals this summer and during the fall, and then we're gonna do some more shows later this year. Um, I would love to come to the US. I have seen a lot of support from the US. I love the US myself personally. I can't wait to come back. And as of right now, there are no plans to come to the US. But I mean, there are definitely plans on making that happen. We just have to see when and you know when that's going to be possible.
Right. So thank you, Jacob, for this interview. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Yeah, thanks for the support. I really mean it. Like, thank you so much, and thank you, Richard, for yeah, showing your interest in the band and for wanting to talk to me.
Anytime, man. So everybody, Jacob from Kvaen, we'll see you next time.